I hung up my NBA social media debates jersey a long time ago. There was a day and time, mainly when I was a kid, where you could get me to go on for hours and hours arguing the same topic with the same person. Because back then, the only option was winning. Either I was gonna argue the other guy into submission, or he was just gonna stop replying. There was no in between. But I feel like ever since I left the game, it's run wild. These days, on what kids are now calling NBA Twitter, dudes will literally say the first thing that comes to their minds and just state it as facts. It's this mass misinformation campaign that infects the vulnerable minds of our NBA youth. And I won't debate these guys anymore because they have even more stamina than I had back in the day. I've literally been tagged in threads on my own page of basketball arguments that just go on for days and days. How can y'all even do that? Whatever, that's not the point. The point is, garbage takes can no longer go unchecked. Type your basketball arguments in fear from now on, knowing that we're being vigilant, and your garbage take is liable to be exposed and laughed at by thousands and thousands of people in these videos. So let's have a look at this thread, shall we? For anybody wondering, I found all of these takes on a Shannon Sharpe tweet. It was really a magnificent burn. The guy decided to roast him for saying that LeBron was the GOAT. And let's just say, unless you want to be publicly humiliated by Shannon Sharpe, you don't come for him. Anyways, this thread completely devolved into your regular, pretty much just your typical LeBron and Jordan debate. And that is a hotbed for terrible takes, so let's have a look. Yep, here we go. This thread right here was talking about the talents that each player played with. That's a pretty normal thing that goes on with these. Somebody discrediting LeBron's teammates, somebody responding with the teammates that he actually played with, another guy saying that none of them were as good as Pippen. But we're not here to punish petty crimes, we're here for the worst of the worst. And the absolute worst comes when the guy says, LeBron had Shaq, MFs always forget that. Yeah, I forgot LeBron played with Shaq. As a matter of fact, there was a reason I forgot. Cleveland Cavaliers Shaquille O'Neal wasn't even over the hill, he was over a damn mountain. If we have stories these days from how Shaq was lazy when he played with Kobe, and that was back when he was dominating, how useful do you think the Shaq that LeBron got was? You could see how lazy Shaq was when he got to Cleveland. The guy was like the size of 3 NBA centers combined but couldn't get a couple of feet off the ground by that point. But nope, this guy's not budging. Somebody tried to interject common sense. We aren't gonna act like he wasn't past his prime by a while. Nah, I don't care, you're supposed to win with Shaq if you're the GOAT. You know, we're not taking trolls in for questioning. Trolling is very common amongst these parts. I'd say that's just a citation. Let's find something a bit more serious. Here's a vi. Oh, if this guy doesn't already have a criminal record, he's about to. Bruh. Jordan had 10 scoring titles because he was one of few great players. This generation has more than 10 superstars that are capable of winning scoring titles. Back then, I can only name a few that could possibly win it. Stop the gimmicks. 2 violations here. The first one is just completely and blatantly ignoring the generational gap between when Jordan played basketball and when LeBron played basketball. Right now, points are being given out like candy. And I'm not discrediting these guys because we definitely have some great scorers. But the pace is picked up like tenfold. And that's specifically because of rule changes, even some that we've seen implemented this season. And then the freedom of movement thing. There was a game just yesterday where the Brooklyn Nets scored 144 points. Do you realize that that's not even rare anymore? A team scored 140 10 years ago and we were like, wow, a couple of overtimes, a couple of 40-point games from people. So, okay, no, there's not 10 superstars in the league, that's false. Yes, there's definitely a lot more high scoring, but aside from players being really talented today, the rules are definitely in their favor. The NBA has been trying to sell an offensive game for a long time now, this is not a secret. But your biggest violation here, Jordan was one of few great players. So the year Jordan first won the scoring title was when he averaged 37 points a game at 23 years old. And he only did that because he was one of few great players. One of few great players out of a pile of Dominique Wilkins, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Moses Malone, Kiki Vandeweghe, Alex English, Charles Barkley. That's just 1 year, guy. 1 year. This is a trash take all around. There's no other way to look at it. This is failure to use logic, failure to be objective. Yeah, I'm afraid for this one, we're gonna have to take this guy in. Next up we have, the only thing MJ ever did better than LeBron was score more points per game, and dude was taking more shots per game, so duh. Below him. Also, I don't remember Mike getting any triple doubles. Well, would you look at what we have here. A couple of teenage delinquents out far past curfew. First of all, let's look at this line by line. The only thing MJ ever did better was score more points per game. That is objectively false. Jordan was certainly a better defender than LeBron James. But if you're going to argue that the only reason MJ ever scored more points is because he took more shots, first of all, the sign of a player that only scores more than another player because he gets to take more shots, that's signified by somebody who has a trash field goal percentage or a field goal percentage worse than the guy you're comparing him to. Because then you can just say, oh yeah, you give this guy X amount of shots and he'll do the same thing, or he'll do more. Problem here is, Jordan scored the bulk of his 32,000 points in 11 years with the Chicago Bulls. He had 1 year where he broke his foot, and he had another where he only played about 17 games because he was coming back from retirement. And then for the seasons he was with the Wizards, he was past his prime and only scoring a little bit over 1,000 points. In 11 seasons, on a field goal percentage that's actually slightly higher than LeBron James's, he scored more points than LeBron has now in 16 seasons. Arguing that the only reason MJ scored more points because he took more shots? No. How about he was actually a better scorer than just about any other player in history? The guy below him is worse though. I'll let the other guy off with a warning, but this Mr. Triple-Double know-it-all, first of all, judging a player solely by how many triple-doubles he gets, that's a horrible measure. But I seem to remember a time back in 1989, Jordan tallied, 10 triple-doubles in 11 games? It was an experiment by Doug Collins. He put Michael Jordan at the point guard position, and they wanted to see what he could do. It's a very small sample size, but I think Jordan more than proved in those 10 games that he could play the game a different way if he needed to. But for the majority of his career, he was billed with scoring at the shooting guard position, so that's what he did. Let NBA Twitter tell it, and Michael Jordan was actually not capable of triple-doubles. And that right there plays into why LeBron is just so much better. Yeah, so what we're actually going to do is call a backup car on this guy because he might be some trouble. Oh yeah, this next one, we're punishing this with prejudice. The lack of context on NBA Twitter is just astounding. People make the same arguments year after year, and they purposely leave out context because it supports their argument. First of all, this guy up here, he's not doing himself any favors by talking about the 6 rings thing, because if you're going to talk about why Jordan is better, you need more than just a ring, which is why I don't debate on Twitter, because I can't keep doing that and going back and forth in these limited characters. Anyways, guy discredits it as a team accomplishment, not individual, so yeah, just fuck winning, right? Fuck the entire reason that these guys actually play basketball. If you do so happen to win a championship, it doesn't count for you. But no, that's not why we're here. It continues exactly, he did nothing before Pippen, and he compounds it by saying, Michael stayed getting sent home in the first round before Sir Scott showed up. I love this take. I absolutely love it because you can always tell which side people stand on when they say it. And the hypocrisy shows, because on one hand, we want to give LeBron James a pass for losing to the Celtics all those years when he was on a terrible Cavaliers team. We want to say that the Magic were too good for him to beat. And you know, I agree with all of this, by the way. I don't think that LeBron had a chance in hell to beat those teams. But then when it comes to Jordan, oh nope, he just didn't win anything without Scottie. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the fact that he was running into these Celtics teams that shared the 80s with the Lakers, and he was playing these guys with a team that was probably worse than what LeBron was taking on with the Cavaliers. That just doesn't matter. It matters when LeBron James loses to teams but he doesn't have help. It does not matter when Jordan loses to teams and he doesn't have help. Hypocrisy is one of the strongest violations on NBA Twitter. I bet you if I took more time to look at his replies on his thread, somewhere in here you see him making an excuse about why LeBron lost, and it's for the same reason he's criticizing Jordan for losing. Yeah, you gotta get in the back of the car, son, I don't want to hear it. And okay, I think I want to read one more terrible take before I wrap this up, and we have MJ at times played against teams where 5 white dudes were on the court as the opposing 5. Could you imagine LeBron worrying about stopping a Stockton Jazz team? He'd have 8 rings back then versus that Bush League. Yeah, you know what, actually I'm beat. This guy got me. It's just a shame that there's no footage out there of Jordan proving that he could dunk on guys that were bigger than him, very athletic, very tall, good at protecting the rim. Like it just sucks that that doesn't exist. Because if it did exist, we could look at it and say, hey, you know what? There were some great athletes back then. There were some very big guys and Jordan could take them. So he could probably take some big guys today too. But you know, there's nothing out there. Nothing out there we can reference that shows Jordan going against anything other than plumbers. That's a damn shame. I just wanted to hop back on here and request that you guys please use my social media handles and tag me in any garbage takes that you think need to be exposed. Yeah, sure, it's called NBA Twitter Cop, but feel free to tag me in Instagram comments as well, as those are normally just as bad. So tag me or use the hashtag NBA Twitter Police, which I will routinely search for violations against the NBA community. We all gotta do our part in cleaning this up. This is a mess.